welcome to Math with Jen. In this video, we are going to represent and solve addition and subtraction of fractions with unequal denominators referring to the same whole. First thing to understand when adding and subtracting fractions is that it's very important that your fraction is representing the same whole. Here I have one pack of gummy worms and I have another pack of gummy worms. They're both representing the same whole. When we go to add and subtract fractions, another thing that's very important is that we talk about the same number of equal parts. For this pack of gummy worms, it is equivalent to this one. This one, I need 14 parts to make a whole. This one I have 7 equal parts to make a whole. Say I wanted to look at 2 of the parts for this package. That would be 2 out of 14. That is equivalent to 1 out of the 7 over here. These are equivalent fractions. But in order to add or subtract, I will need to have them talking about the same number of equal parts. So this 7 would need to go into 14 if I want to do anything as far as adding and subtracting these two packages together. So this 1/7, I would go ahead and I would divide it into 2 equal parts. Cut up every single one of them in half. I still have the same whole, but now I have equal parts. When we add and subtract fractions, we're going to think about making them have a common denominator or like denominators. So this would be 2 over 14, this one piece that I cut. So we started out with unlike denominators. We ended up with like denominators. We'll be able to add and subtract once we are talking about the same number of equal parts. This example we're going to look at ties in with the 2 packages of gummy worms that we were talking about. Let's say we were talking about 3/14 of one package. For that other package of gummy worms, in order to add anything together, we need to talk about the same number of equal parts. So we're going to look at the 2 denominators and we're going to think of a multiple that they have in common. I know that 7 times 2 is 14, and I know 14 times 1 is 14, so I'm able to get a like denominator. The first one's going to stay the same. The second one, I'm going to change that to 14. Each of these equal parts were divided into 2. 7 times 2 is 14. That means if I had 5 of them, those 5 are broken up into 2 equal parts as well. So I'm going to change that to 10. I can now add them together because I'm talking about the same number of equal parts. And so my answer is 13 over 14. I want to show you how large the numbers can get if you're not thinking of that least common denominator. I would have to multiply 14 times 7 to get a common denominator, and that would be 98. So you can see the numbers getting larger to deal with. And in order to make 3/14 equivalent to something over 98, I did 14 times 7 to get the 98, so 3 times 7 would be 21. To get this 98, it was 7 times 14, so I would have to do 5 times 14. That would be 70 over 98. And the numbers are getting larger because I couldn't find that least common denominator. So this gives me 91 over 98. 2 are equivalent to each other. They're the same answer. This one's broken up into 98 equal parts. This one's broken up into 14 equal parts. This next one, we are going to think through our multiples of 6 and our multiples of 4. 6, I have 6, 12, 18, 24. Over here I have 4, 8, 12, 16, 24. Both have 24, but I also said one that was a little bit smaller. They both have 12 in common as a multiple. Your multiplication facts is going to help you find the least common denominator. I'm going to change the 6 into 12 equal parts, and I'm going to change the 4 into 12 equal parts. So instead of having my whole be 6 equal parts, I'm going to divide each of those in half. That's going to now make 12 equal parts. That means that this one part is now 2. Fraction 4 parts make a whole. So I'm going to divide those into 3 equal parts. 4 times 3 is 12, so I'm going to have to do 3 times 3 to get the 9. Now that I have common denominators, I am talking about the same number of equal parts. So now I get to add them together. These have to be the same before you can start adding or subtracting. So 2 plus 9 is 11. The next example we're going to look at, we have mixed numbers. And what a mixed number is it's just telling you how many wholes you have. In reference to the gummy worms, we would have 4 whole packages and then 3/8 of a package. This one's 6 whole packages and then 5/6 of a package. I can go ahead and add my whole parts together. I can say 4 plus 6 equals 10. I'm not going to put that equal sign there. I can say 4 plus 6 equals 10. I did the wholes. And I can come over here and I can now look at the parts. I have 3/8 and 5/6. And I'm going to add those together. And think of a multiple that they each have in common. They both have 24 in common. So 8 times 3 is 24. 3 times 3 is the 9. I'm going to turn this one into 24 equal parts. So each of these 6 pieces, I'm dividing it into 4 equal parts. So that's 6 times 4. So that means each of these parts are now going to be 4 equal parts. So that's going to be 20. Then I add these two together. I get 29 over 24. Because the numerator is larger than the denominator, I know that I have a whole package right here. So I need 24 to make a whole, and I have 29. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a whole out of here. And so that's 29 minus the 24 that I'm taking away to make a whole package. And that's going to leave me 5. So I took the 24 out to make a whole, and I have 5 24s left over. Now I'm going to go ahead and add everything together. Now I have 10 wholes plus 1 whole is 11, coming all the way over here. And then I have 5 24. 4 and 3/8 plus 6 and 5/6 is equal to 11 and 5 24s. We're going to go ahead and move into subtraction now. I'm going to think about the denominators and think of a common multiple. They both have 30 in common as a common multiple. So I'm going to make them both have a denominator of 30. For subtraction, I'm not going to do the whole numbers yet. I'm going to focus on the fractions first because sometimes we might need to break up one of the wholes. So 3 times 10 gives me the 30. So that means 2 times 10 is going to give me 20. I'm going to take this one, multiply it by 3. So I'm going to multiply the top by 3. So this will be 3/30. I'm going to go ahead and subtract the whole numbers. So that gives me 3. And then I'm going to do 20 parts minus 3 parts. That's 17. And then the 30 stays the same because this is just telling us how many equal parts we need to make a whole. So once you get them the same, it stays the way it is unless you start to simplify or make equivalent fractions. For this next one, we're going to subtract 4 1/2 from 17 1/5. We're going to first start with finding a least common denominator. We're going to think about the multiples of 5 and the multiples of 2. And I get 10. That was pretty easy. So I have 10. So 5 times 2 gave me the 10. So I'm going to have to do 1 times 2 to get an equivalent fraction. Over here, 2 times 5 is 10. 1 times 5 is 5. So I have another equivalent fraction. I'm going to bring down the wholes. When I go to subtract, I have 2 parts minus 5 parts. I have to take 5 parts away from 2 parts. I don't have enough. When this happens, I'm going to have to take one of these whole amounts and break it up into equal parts. In this problem, 10 equal parts make a whole. I'm going to knock it down to 16 because I'm going to take one of the wholes and I'm going to divide it into 10 equal parts. So now I'm going to add those 10 equal parts to the 2 that I had so that now I can subtract 5 parts. Say that again. I had to take one of these wholes and break it up. I had to cut it up like I did with the gummy worms. So I had to cut it up into 10 equal parts because I only had 2 parts and I needed to subtract 5. So I took one of these, I divided it into 10 equal parts. So that added to the 2 I already had. Now I have 16 12/10 minus 4 5/10. So now I have enough parts to subtract the 5. So I'm going to subtract the wholes now that I have everything I need. The denominator stays at 10 because in this situation, 10 equal parts make a whole. And then I'm going to subtract 12 minus 5. My answer of 12 7/10. So for this one, our first step in adding and subtracting fractions, you need to get a common denominator. And we do try to think about the least common denominator. I could just multiply these together and get 54. Let's think of something smaller that they have in common. 9 times 2 is 18. 6 times 3 is 18. 18 equal parts make one whole in this problem. So that means these 3 equal parts are now going to be 6. And then these 5 equal parts are now going to be 15. Bring down my wholes. Before I do anything, I'm going to see if I have enough equal parts to subtract 15 from. I need to take 6 minus 15. I don't have enough parts. I'm going to have to borrow a whole from here. This is going to go down to 35. I'm going to take one of those wholes. I'm going to break them up into those 18 parts. So now I have 24 over 18. I still have an equivalent amount. I just took one of those wholes and I broke them up into 18 pieces so I could add them to the 6 that I had. And then I'm going to rewrite everything. I have 24 minus 15, so I'm good. I can go ahead and start subtracting everything. 35 wholes minus 15 wholes is 20. Then 24 parts minus 15 parts is going to give me 9. And in this problem, 18 equal parts made a whole. So that has to stay the same because I need to let people know how many parts make a whole. 20 and 9/18. I can go ahead and leave it like this, but sometimes they'll ask you to simplify your answer, make it into lesser parts. I know that 9 divided by 9 is 1, and I know 18 divided by 9 is 2. So I can also say that my answer is 20 and 1/2. I thank you so much for joining me in this video. I hope that you learned something new, and I will see you next time. Bye.